Jodi, Jaime, and Bryan have set out to work on a Web 2.0 project. They are going to bring Jeannie Amrod and the 4th grade class of Canoga Park with them on their journey. This Pecha-Kucha is a comprehensive map to social cognitive knowledge. What is a Pecha-Kucha? No, it's not a little yellow Pokemon creature. It's actually a Japanese word for chit-chat. It is also a format to present information concisely. In this format, there are 20 slides, each with 20 seconds of audio, explaining the subject that is being presented. Originally called social learning theory, social cognitive theory has its origins in behaviorism and constructivism. The theory is a perspective that can help us understand what and how people learn by observing others and how, during this process, they begin to take control of their own behavior. Thanks to research by Albert Bandura at Stanford University, there are some basic assumptions of social cognitive theory. The first is that students can learn by observing models. No, not that kind of model with the runway walk and the blue steel look into the camera, but models that are peers or adults. There is a constant interplay between the person, the behavior, and the environment. This image demonstrates the flow between these three variables. This flow is called reciprocal causation. The variables, people, environment, and behavior all have an equal amount of importance in social cognitive theory. The behaviorist concept of contingency also comes into play in social cognitive theory. A stimulus followed by a response, then followed by a target behavior, is reinforced. On the other hand, a stimulus followed by a response, then followed by an undesired behavior, is punished. According to Bandura, self-efficacy beliefs determine how people feel, think, motivate themselves, and behave. From a learning perspective, if a student has high self-efficacy, they are more likely to tackle challenges in the classroom with confidence. But if a student has low self-efficacy, they will tend to dwell on the difficulties and procrastinate an assignment. Learning is internal and may or may not be represented by a change in behavior, in contrast to what behaviorists believe that a change in behavior must happen to signify learning. Social cognitive theorists believe that behavior may or may not change when something is learned. Thus, learning is an internal mental process. Finally, social cognitive theorists suggest that people behave according to the goals they set for themselves. They are then driven to accomplish those goals. As learners grow older, the behaviors and cognitive processes lead to goal achievement. This is called self-regulation. There are strengths and weaknesses in this theory. Students can choose the wrong model to associate with. Students may not be emotionally mature enough to self-regulate. Students may lack motivation to successfully model. On the other hand, this theory requires peer-to-peer interaction and self-control, important things to learn in life. The teacher in the classroom at Canoga Park has put together an exercise for the students to help them with reading comprehension. He initially has students think, pair, share. This introduces one of the main assumptions about sociocognitive theory. The students pair up and share their point of view of what they've read. Their peers are the models for their learning. The lesson in the video appears to be using a form of Socratic discussion. The teacher remains silent and facilitates only when necessary. By setting up this environment, the behavior and the students experience reciprocal causation as well as collective self-efficacy. This requires more mental focus than just reflecting their own opinions. It is also important to note that the students in the video do not criticize one another's opinions. The discussion is polite and informative. One of the key components to social cognitive theory is that behavior is self-regulated. Cues to appropriate use of self-regulation come from how the environment reacts to how the group perceives the behavior of the student responding. The students appear to be familiar with the discussion process that transpires in the video. Clearly, they have been taught the process, and with the help of their teacher regulating their learning, they are also immersed in a progression of self-regulation. This cooperative interaction is called co-regulated learning. Students are individual with their own perceptions and interests. This particular lesson was about the invention of the printing press, a machine that most children may have trouble conceptualizing. In a redesign, perhaps the teacher could expose the students to a variety of models, either live or symbolic, to deepen their ability to conceptualize this important invention. It is interesting to note in the video that the students mostly agree with one another's point of view, even though the teacher told them that they could disagree. It's possible that when the teacher praises students for agreeing with peers, but fails to acknowledge those who disagreed, he is reinforcing agreement as the desired behavior. Perhaps if the students would disagree constructively, they would involve themselves in peer mediation. With correct teacher facilitation, the students can learn to solve interpersonal problems and open themselves up to understanding each other's perspective. This is best done without the use of chainsaws. In the video, the teacher appears to be recording and summarizing the discussions. It is possible that he uses his notes as a formative assessment to gauge student understanding during the lesson. However, by including self-assessment, an important concept in social cognitive learning, the teacher could gain further insight into the student's own self-efficacy. At the conclusion of the Socratic seminar, the students could be given a rubric to complete with which they evaluate their own participation within the group and practice metacognitive skills. This kind of feedback would be beneficial for the teacher as well to make sure that the students are fully engaged in the exercise. Teachers must pay attention to their actions because when they model behaviors, students acquire those behaviors more quickly. Teachers shouldn't be discouraged if the desired behaviors are not immediately evident. Instead, teachers should remember that time is sometimes required for behaviors to manifest and could become visible at a later time. Students affect their environments, and in turn, their environments affect them. This reciprocal relationship influences learning and development. By encouraging students to set achievable and challenging goals, teachers can help students stay motivated. Helping students assess their own behaviors by teaching them self-monitoring skills can make their learning more meaningful. By applying principles from behaviorist, constructivist, and social cognitive theories, we can effectively model the skills we want students to acquire. We can help them transfer learned information to new challenges, promote greater self-regulation, which in turn motivates students to become more successful.